At my first painting exhibition, I was shocked when a stranger whispered, "This piece. It looks just like one my father painted before he disappeared." My heart pounded. "Your father?" I asked. She nodded. "He left when I was 5. This style is identical." I swallowed hard. I had no father, or so I was told. The gallery hummed with soft murmurs, the clinking of champagne glasses, the quiet admiration of my work. My first exhibition, a dream I bled for. Hours of work, sleepless nights. And now, strangers stood before my paintings, whispering their interpretations, marveling at my brushstrokes. Then came her voice, soft, unnerved. "This piece. It looks just like one my father painted before he disappeared." The words stabbed through the excitement. I turned. A woman about my age stood before my centerpiece, a stormy, aching canvas I'd poured my soul into. "Your father?" My throat was dry. She nodded, gaze locked on the painting. "He left when I was 5. This style is identical." I couldn't breathe. The edges of the room blurred. Because I had no father, or so I was told. Her name was Lena Carter, and she wasn't leaving without answers. "You painted this?" she asked. I forced a nod. My heart slammed against my ribs. "Who taught you?" Her voice was too sharp, like she already knew something I didn't. I swallowed. "No one. I just always knew how." She let out a breath, stepping closer. "My father was an artist. He had a very distinct style. She gestured at the painting, eyes shining with something between hope and grief. "This is his." "No. Impossible." My mother told me my father was nobody. A ghost. Someone who didn't want me. I took a step back. "You're mistaken." Lena pulled out her phone, fingers shaking as she scrolled. Then she turned the screen to me. A painting, almost identical to mine. Same strokes, same textures, same aching sorrow. My stomach dropped. "This was his final work before he vanished," she whispered. 20 years ago. My pulse pounded in my ears. Because that was when I was born. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my tiny apartment, staring at the digital image of Lena's father's painting. Every brushstroke felt familiar, like muscle memory, like something that had been waiting to surface. Who was he? More importantly, why had my mother lied? The next morning, I confronted her. She was washing dishes, humming an old tune, peaceful, as if she hadn't spent 25 years keeping a secret. "Mom." My voice was cold. "Who was my father?" Her hands froze. A plate slipped from her grasp, shattering against the tile. She didn't look at me. "Why are you asking me this?" I clenched my fists. "Because a woman showed up at my exhibition claiming my paintings match her father's." Silence. "Then, you shouldn't have spoken to her." My blood ran cold. "So it's true?" She turned, and the look in her eyes, it wasn't guilt. It was fear. "I did what I had to do to protect you." "From what? From who?" But before I could demand answers, she whispered, "They'll come for you now." And that's when I knew this was bigger than me. Bigger than art. Bigger than a missing father. And whatever truth lay buried, someone didn't want it uncovered. "They'll come for you now." The words clung to the air, thick and suffocating. My mother's face, pale, strained, was carved with something deeper than fear. It was dreadful. I swallowed hard. "Who will come for me?" She didn't answer, just shook her head, as if saying the words out loud would summon something monstrous. I slammed my hand on the counter. "Mom, tell me the truth." She flinched but met my gaze. And then, in a voice that barely held together, "Your father didn't leave. He was taken." The room tilted. "Taken? By who? Why? Why'd she never told me? Why would you lie to me about him?" My voice cracked, the weight of betrayal pressing against my ribs. "Because knowing wouldn't change anything," she whispered. "It would only make you a target." "A target?" I staggered back, pulse roaring in my ears. "Mom, this isn't some conspiracy movie. Who? Who would care enough about a painter to?" She gripped my arm tight. "Stop asking, Eli." Too late. I was already drowning in the questions. And the only person who might have answers? Lena Carter. I met Lena at a downtown cafe, the rain slamming against the windows. She was already there, a thick folder in front of her. "You're lucky I'm not crazy," she said as I Saturday. "Most people don't track down strangers after one conversation." I let out a dry laugh. "Yeah, well, turns out my whole life might be a lie." "So?" She pushed the folder toward me. I did some digging. I hesitated before opening it. Newspaper clippings. A man's face stared back at me from a yellowed article. Dark eyes. Sharp features. Something eerily familiar in the set of his jaw. "Missing. Local artist David Carter vanishes without a trace." David Carter. Lena's father. My father? I could barely process it before she slid another document toward me. A death certificate. Issued 6 months after he disappeared. No cause listed. No body recovered. "A fraud," Lena said, watching my face. "It was a cover-up." My hands clenched into fists. "A cover-up for what?" She leaned in. "That's the part one haven't figured out yet. But someone went through a lot of trouble to erase him." The air in my lungs felt thick, heavy. My father wasn't missing. He was erased. And if my mother was right, they might be coming for me next. That night, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Maybe it was paranoia. Maybe it was the weight of knowing I was stepping into something dangerous. Or maybe it was the shadow that moved outside my window. I froze. The apartment was dead silent except for my breathing. Slowly, I reached for my phone, heart slamming against my ribs. Then, a soft knock at the door. I nearly dropped the phone. It was past midnight. No one visited me this late. I crept toward the door, hands shaking as I peered through the peephole. No one there. Just the empty hallway. I exhaled shakily. Maybe I was losing it. Maybe another knock. Louder. Closer. I stepped back, fear crawling up my spine. I should call the cops. My phone screen lit up. Unknown number. I stared at it, my pulse roaring in my ears. Then, slowly, I swiped to answer. A voice cold and quiet. You should have left it alone, Eli. The line went dead, and I realized this wasn't just about my father anymore. This was about me. And whoever they were, they weren't just watching. The phone went dead, but the silence was louder than the THR. I stood there, heart pounding, staring at my own reflection in the dark screen. You should have left it alone, Eli. I backed away from the door, every nerve in my body on edge. Who the hell was that? My fingers tightened around my phone, my mind racing. Cops? No, what would I even say? Hi. I think someone erased my father from existence, and now they're after me? No. I needed answers, and there was only one person left who could give them to me. I drove back to my mother's house, my knuckles white against the steering wheel. The rain hadn't stopped. It pounded against the windshield, the wipers smearing the water like brushstrokes across glass. She answered the door, eyes tired, shoulders tense. Like she'd been waiting for me. You have to stop, she said before I even spoke. I stepped inside, my wet shoes squeaking against the floor. Tell me the truth. She sighed, running a hand through her graying hair. Eli, I pulled out my phone, tapping the screen. The photograph. The one from Lena's folder. The face of a man who looked like a ghost version of myself. I held it up. Is this my father? She stared at it. And in that moment, I saw something shatter in her eyes. Grief. Regret. Guilt. Then, finally, yes. The air seemed to thicken. There it was. The truth. David Carter. My father. A man I'd never met. A man I'd been told never existed. A man someone had gone to great lengths to erase. I clenched my jaw. Where is he? Her lips parted, then closed. Her hands trembled. I don't know. I stepped closer, desperate. Mom. She swallowed hard. He loved you, Eli. He never wanted to leave. Then why did he? My voice cracked. She turned away, pressing a hand to her forehead like the weight of it all was too much. Then, barely above a whisper, because they took him. The words settled between us like a curse. I sat at the kitchen table, my mother across from me. The storm outside mirrored the one inside me. Who took him? I demanded. She hesitated. I grabbed the folder, flipping through the old documents. Mom, please. She exhaled shakily, then said a name so softly I barely heard it. Vincent Hale. A chill ran through me. Who is he? She didn't answer right away, just rubbed her arms like she was trying to warm herself from an invisible cold. Then, a man who doesn't like loose ends. I frowned. What does that mean? She met my eyes, her expression haunted. Your father knew something he wasn't supposed to know. And now, Eli, so do you. Before I could press further, my phone vibrated on the table. Lena. I picked it up. Lena. Her voice was urgent, panicked. Eli, I found something. Meet me at my place now. And then, click. I drove through the rain-slicked streets, gripping the wheel so tightly my fingers ached. Lena's apartment was on the other side of town. When I arrived, her door was already unlocked. I hesitated. Lena. No answer. I stepped inside. The lights were dim, the air thick with unease. Her laptop sat open on the table, documents pulled up. A man's face stared at me from the screen. Vincent Hale. Even through the grainy photo, I could tell this was the man my mother feared. Then movement. Lena emerged from the hallway, eyes wild. Eli, you have to see this. She grabbed a stack of papers, spreading them across the table. Bank transactions, old receipts, letters, and then a hidden medical record. She tapped it urgently. Look at the date. I scanned it. 6 months ago. My stomach twisted. What is this? She swallowed hard. It's from a private medical facility. A patient with no listed name. But she pointed at a smudged signature at the bottom. David Carter. My blood ran cold. 6 months ago. My father. Alive. But where? And why was Vincent Hale paying for it? Before I could react, something slammed into the door. A loud, forceful bang. Lena's eyes widened. Did you? Another bang. Harder. I turned toward the door just as the lock clicked. Someone was coming in. And this time, they weren't just knocking. The door burst open. A gust of cold air swept into the apartment as Lena and I stumbled back. My pulse hammered in my ears. A man stepped inside. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in black from head to toe. His face was shadowed by the dim light, but the gleam of something metallic in his hand made my stomach lurch. A gun. Lena gasped. I grabbed her wrist, pulling her behind me as the man took another step forward. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. The message was clear. This wasn't a robbery. This was a warning. I raised my hands. Look, I don't know who you are, but we don't want trouble. The man tilted his head slightly, like he was considering his next move. And then, Lena grabbed a lamp and hurled it at him. The crash shattered the tension. I grabbed her arm. Go run. She didn't hesitate. We bolted down the hallway as the man lunged after us. The gun went off. The shot ripped through the air, splintering the doorframe inches from my head. I didn't look back. We raced into the stairwell, feet pounding against concrete. The old apartment building had no elevators, just 4 flights of twisting stairs. I gritted my teeth, practically dragging Lena down with me. Above us, the intruder's footsteps were closing in. Fast. We reached the 2nd floor when Lena yanked my arm. This way. She shoved open a maintenance door, revealing a rusted fire escape. Without thinking, we scrambled onto it, the cold metal groaning under our weight. Below us, 3 more flights. Above us, the man appeared at the stairwell door. Gun raised. We jumped. We hit the ground hard, rolling onto the rain-slick pavement behind the building. Pain shot up my arm, but I forced myself up. Lena was gasping beside me, clutching her side. Where do we go? I didn't know. Nowhere felt safe. But there was only one person left who might have the answers we needed. My mother, I said. We have to get to her before he does. Lena nodded, her face pale. Then let's move. We ran. My mother's house was dark when we arrived. Too dark. I hesitated at the front door. Something felt wrong. I knocked once. Mom. No answer. I tried the knob. Unlocked. A sinking feeling twisted in my gut. I stepped inside. Mom. The living room was a wreck. Chairs overturned. Picture frames smashed. Papers scattered across the floor. And then a soft noise. From the kitchen. I grabbed a heavy bookend from the shelf as Lena clung to my arm. We moved slowly, the floor creaking beneath us. I pushed the kitchen door open and froze. My mother sat at the table. A man stood behind her. Vincent Hale. I knew it was him before he even spoke. The suit. The perfectly combed silver hair. The calculating coldness in his eyes. He smiled. Eli, we finally met. I gripped the bookend tighter. Let her go. Vincent raised a hand. Relax. I'm not a monster. His voice was smooth. Polished. Like a man who was used to control. His eyes flicked to Lena. Ah, I see you made a friend. That's unfortunate. I clenched my jaw. What do you want? Vincent sighed, placing his hands on my mother's shoulders. She flinched, but he didn't seem to notice or care. I want you to stop, he said simply. Stop digging. Stop asking questions. Walk away, and this ends tonight. Lena let out a short laugh. That's not happening. Vincent's eyes darkened. No? Then let me make something clear. He pulled a photograph from his pocket and slid it across the table. I picked it up, and my heart stopped. It was a surveillance image of a man in a hospital bed. David Carter. He looked thinner, older, but it was him. My father. Alive. Vincent watched my reaction carefully. You want to find him? Fine. But trust me, Eli, some doors are meant to stay closed. I looked up, fists clenched. Where is he? Vincent smiled. I'll tell you, if you agree to my terms. Silence. My mother finally spoke. Don't, Eli. Vincent ignored her. He leaned forward, his voice soft. You walk away from this, and I'll let you see him. He slid a second photograph onto the table. This one was of Lena, through a sniper scope. Lena inhaled sharply. Vincent's voice hardened. If you don't, she dies first. A cold dread wrapped around my throat. I was out of time, out of choices. And for the first time in my life, I truly understood Vincent Hale wasn't making an offer. He was giving me an ultimatum. Vincent Hale's ultimatum hung in the air like a blade against my throat. Walk away and see my father. Or fight back and lose Lena. I gripped the photograph of my father so tightly my knuckles turned white. This was real. He was alive. But for how much longer? Lena's eyes darted to me, silently asking, what now? I took a slow breath. Then I looked at Vincent. Fine. His smug smile returned. I'll walk away, I said. But first, proof. I want to see him. In person. Vincent's expression flickered. Just for a second. A hesitation. And in that hesitation, I saw the truth. He was bluffing. My father was alive, but Vincent didn't want me anywhere near him, which meant I wasn't walking away. Vincent exhaled, smoothing his tie. Smart choice. He turned to one of his men. Take him to the facility. Alone. Lena's hand tensed on the table. She knew exactly what was happening. This was a trap. I gave her a barely noticeable nod. Go. She hesitated, then shifted slightly toward the door. She got the message. Vincent stood, adjusting his cufflinks. If you do anything stupid, Eli, remember, he tapped the photograph of Lena in the sniper scope. I always keep my promises. My stomach turned, but I forced myself to stay calm. Let's go. One of his men barked, shoving me toward the door. Lena was already gone. Good. That was part of the plan. The drive was long, silent, and tense. Two of Vincent's men flanked me in the back seat, armed, watching my every move. We pulled up to a secluded facility on the outskirts of the city. A private hospital, high fences, security cameras, a prison disguised as care. I was marched inside, down sterile white hallways that smelled of antiseptic and secrecy. Then we stopped. One of the guards swiped a keycard. The door clicked open, and inside, a man sat by a window, staring out at nothing. Thin, pale, his hair streaked with gray, but his face was unmistakable. My father. My breath hitched. Dad. Slowly, David Carter turned. His sunken eyes widened. Eli. His voice was hoarse, weak. Emotion slammed into me like a train. For a moment, I forgot everything. Vincent, the guards, the danger. I took a step forward, and then the gun pressed against my back. Time's up, one of the guards said. Say goodbye. I clenched my fists. No, not like this. I met my father's gaze. His lips parted like he wanted to say something. The lights flickered. The guard cursed. What the hell? Then boom. The hallway exploded. The blast shattered the walls, throwing us off balance. Smoke and dust choked the air. I barely had time to register what was happening before I heard gunfire. A voice familiar. Lena. Get down, she yelled. I yanked my father to the ground just as bullets tore through the room. The guard scrambled for cover. Lena appeared through the smoke, a pistol clutched in her shaking hands. Move. I hauled my father up, my heart racing. Vincent's men tried to fight back, but they were distracted, because behind Lena, another figure emerged. My mother, holding a gun. I barely had time to process it before she fired. One shot, straight into the chest of the guard closest to me. I gaped. Mom. She turned, breathing hard. I told you, Eli. She stepped closer, lowering the gun. I did everything to protect you. Then, Vincent's voice, cold and furious. Kill them all. Chaos erupted. Bullets flew. My mother and Lena fired back, buying us time. I grabbed my father, shoving him toward the exit. He was weak, struggling to keep up. Lena shouted, Go. We'll hold him off. I hesitated, but then my mother grabbed my arm. She turned me toward the door. Take him, Eli. Get out of here. Her eyes burned with something fierce. Final. I understood. She wasn't coming with us. Before I could protest, she pushed me. Run. So I ran. I dragged my father down the hall, bullets ripping through the walls behind us. Then, a final gunshot. Not ours. Vincent's. I turned, my heart plummeting. My mother staggered, blood blooming across her chest. I lunged for her. Mom. She caught me, her hands gripping my arms. Don't stop, she whispered. Tears blurred my vision. No, 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 she smiled. Then, slowly she collapsed. Vincent stepped forward, lowering his gun. Pity. Rage ignited inside me. But there was no time. I clenched my jaw, fighting the grief to paralyze me. Then I turned and ran. The next few days were a blur. Lena and I got my father to safety. The media exploded when evidence leaked. Vincent's crimes, the illegal facility, the cover-up. Turns out Lena had planned everything. The explosion, the escape, the leak. Vincent was arrested. For the first time in years, he was the one with no control. But it didn't feel like a victory. Because my mother was gone. She had spent 25 years protecting me. And in the end, she saved me again. At her funeral, I stood beside my father. He was still weak, still recovering. But when he placed a hand on my shoulder, I felt it. The weight of everything we'd lost, and everything we had left. Weeks later, I found myself in front of a blank canvas. I hadn't painted since the night of the exhibition. But now, I picked up the brush, and I let the truth bleed onto the canvas. Not just pain, not just grief, but hope. Because I finally knew who I was. Not just Eli. Eli Carter. The son of an artist who refused to be erased. The son of a mother who sacrificed everything. And the man who survived Vincent Hale. I dipped the brush into the paint. And I began.